those of you watching on YouTube, you got to see me accidentally put my face up, just a little tiny face over in the corner there. I use StreamYard to broadcast these episodes of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, and they had a bit of a OS update. And needless to say, I'm figuring it out a little bit. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Dan Vespers at Dan Vespers on Twitter. Old Man Squad on the Blue Sky Network. We are in our streaming time. This is the Wednesday-Thursday streaming edition. This would be days 3 and 4 of your fantasy playoffs as we try to do one of these every single day over the season's final 6 weeks of NBA action. I don't know why this isn't scrolled to the top. I got to get my head out of my rear, but here we are. Welcome to the playoff streaming guide episode for Wednesday, March 5th and Thursday, March 6th. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Vespers, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, and Old Man Squad Fantasy on Instagram. Please make sure to like, rate, and subscribe however you take in this content. You guys got the tenets of how I stream on the last couple of episodes. One that I'm going to keep reminding you guys of, probably use your streaming moves later in the day, closer to tip time. So often nowadays, we make a move in the morning and that player is ruled out by the afternoon. So be very cautious. But let's take a look at Wednesday. Let's get started here. I also added a new feature today and something that I'd like to hopefully continue over the duration here. Not only just teams to target, but also teams to avoid. And, you know, it didn't fit that nicely, but teams to avoid could also be written out as teams to get off of. So, like, you might have a stream on some of these clubs and then move off of them to one of the teams to target. A good example of that would be the 76ers, a team that I said was a very good club to use for streaming to start the week, where they had a back-to-back Monday and Tuesday. If you really wanted to go another 2 today and tomorrow, you could, because they do have a game on Thursday as well. But today starts a 1 game in 4 days pocket for the 76ers because they're off for 2 days after their game on Thursday before coming back on Sunday. So you could stream a Sixer at the beginning of the week. You could move off of them for the next 4 days, and you could actually come back to Philadelphia on Sunday when their schedule picks back up again. You don't have to. It's just one of the reasons that I like getting that new feature on the board here. Let's take a look at the teams to avoid first. I'll probably flip-flop the order of these and how they're appearing on your screen. Philly, as we mentioned, has the 1 game in 4 days. The game is Thursday, so it's a little bit easier to stick with them for another day and a half if you really want to. Phoenix and San Antonio are the worst schedules among these teams that go one time over 4 days because they don't play until Friday. Phoenix and San Antonio are off today and tomorrow. They're on Friday. They're off Saturday. So that's a situation where you really do, if you have streamers on those clubs, want to move somewhere else. And there are streamer types on those two teams, like, say, a Tyus Jones or a Grayson Allen or a Royce O'Neal or a Mason Plumlee or a Nick Richards. In San Antonio, you got Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes and Julian Champagnie and on and on and on and on. And I'll tell you right now, the teams to target have all of them 3 games over those same 4 days. So you could make 1 move and gain 2 games from that slot over the next 4 days. The teams to target right now are Boston. Celtics have a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 6 nights, and 7 games in 11 days. Miami is similar, but they don't have a back-to-back. The front, there's a game and then an off day, and then they have their back-to-back. But Miami has 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 6 nights, and 7 games in 11 nights as well. So these are 2 teams where you could pick guys up and ride them out for a week and a half. It really makes it easy to stream. When you can do a pickup for 11 days, you can actually use that streaming slot, or you can consider it almost like a rest of season pocket because you don't have to think about it again until basically the end of next week. That's great. That allows you to stream more other slots. Now suddenly you're streaming 3 slots instead of just 2. The other team to look out for here on the target side is Charlotte. The Hornets have 3 games in 4 nights and 4 games in 6 nights. They do not have 7 and 11, and they, like Miami, don't have a back-to-back. Bet Online, got to do it, man. Can't go that far into the show, is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for online betting in 2025. From every three-pointer to every hat trick to every grand slam to every touchdown, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. So, Whether you're a seasoned fan of sports betting, a veteran, or a noob, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, offering up odds on everything from NBA to college basketball, NHL, UFC. Baseball's coming back around. They got props. They got live in-game betting. They've got opportunities to watch the games. They are your number one sports betting source. BetOnline, the game starts here. Who are the names to look at if you want to make a pickup today? We already talked about Boston, Charlotte, and Miami being the teams. Boston, your choices are Sam Hauser or Luke Kornet, and they suck when the team is healthy. I am fully aware of this. They are craptacular when the team is healthy. But the Celtics, in a thick scheduling spot like the one they have right now, are going to be resting people. We saw it down the stretch last year. We're going to see it again this season. One of the differences, of course, is last year they were running away with the Eastern Conference. This year they have a 3-game lead over the Knicks for the 2 and the 3 spot. So I guess you could argue that they need to be a tiny bit more careful with how they use their rest days, but they're going to use them because they're the champs. And for Boston, we know damn well getting to the playoffs healthy is a bigger deal for them than having home court the whole way through. They love it, but at the same time, they don't have to have it. Also, good news is during this 7 games or 11-day stretch, they play Utah in the middle of it, so that's a game they can get some guys some rest. They have Brooklyn at the tail end, and they have Philly tomorrow. Portland today, although Portland's been playing a little bit better. So there are effectively 4 of those 7 games that are against teams that are either not very good or just straight up tanking. 3 of them now, I would argue, are probably tanking, and then Portland is just sort of like a middling ball club. Boston will play their guys against the Lakers. They'll play their guys against the Thunder. Those 2 games, Hauser and Kornet, are probably going to be really, really bad. But in 4 or maybe even 5 of the 7, you're going to get slightly more production out of those dudes, and that's enough to warrant rostering them for that stretch. Because it's about, right now, for head-to-head, it's about the aggregate. How much can you roll up on these guys? And so for Hauser, it's about 3-pointers. For Kornet, it's field goal percent and blocks. You will probably get enough over that long haul. Charlotte is the other team, and you've got a few options there. Jusuf Nurkic, who's probably rostered in your league because he had a couple games where he was pushing a triple-double. But on the chance he's not, he's questionable right now, so that one could get detonated. Don't make that move until we figure out if he's ruled in for Charlotte's game tonight. Screwed this up yesterday, and I forgot to look up the pronunciation on it. Damion Baugh, or is it Bow? Do we know? Nobody hit me up in the comment section, I don't think. I don't know. I don't want to wing it. That's not the way I do things. Pausing the recording. We're going to get it right now. It's Baugh. Okay, good. Initial guess. Anyway, he'll be fine over this stretch. It's not going to be a lot. Josh Green, same thing. You'll get a couple of steals. Not very good. Nick Smith Jr. can give you some points. Those are your options with Charlotte. Miami, Haywood Highsmith for some steals. Davion Mitchell, remember, he was questionable yesterday, so it would have been a little bit of a dicey play to pick him up a day in advance. It sounds like he's intending to play for the Heat, so he would be a pretty good source of assists and steals. And then Duncan Robinson, who's likely already rostered, he would be a very good source of threes if you can get your hands on Duncan Robinson. If you are looking towards tomorrow, Thursday, the team to avoid or to move off would be the Washington Wizards. They start a 1-game in 4-day stretch, starting on Thursday with their lone game coming in that pocket on Saturday. So it's basically as bad as the 1 and 4 can get without just being 3 consecutive days off. So Wizards off Thursday, off Friday, on Saturday, off Sunday. There are teams, not many, 2 targets we're going to talk about, but there's 1 team you could pivot to from Washington that would turn those 1 games, the 1 game and 4-night stretch, into a 3 games and 4-night stretch, and that's New Orleans Pelicans. The Pellies have 3 games starting Thursday through Sunday, making them the most enviable team over that stretch. They also skip the Monday overload day in favor of a Tuesday low tide. We call that a quality day or a quality game early next week. So the Pelicans would be the team to look for. They don't have a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. Their back-to-back comes Saturday, Sunday. They're not the only team with a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, but they are the only one that has a 3rd game earlier in this 4-day stretch. So the Pelicans would be the team to pivot to. Or if you have a bunch of moves left over, which I'm guessing you probably don't, but and by tomorrow, you can start to use up some of those remaining moves because you don't want, like, there isn't much purpose in holding them to the end of the week. If you're in a tight battle, you got to make sure that you advance before you start worrying about what you're doing next week. The Knicks would be the other one. They have a back-to-back. They are the only team in the NBA that has a back-to-back on Thursday and Friday, but then they're promptly off for 2 days. After that, Knicks have 2 games over 7 days after their Thursday, Friday back-to-back. So it's a really bad scheduling stretch for the Knicks, and it really doesn't get a whole lot better because they only have 2 games over 4 days coming out of that 2 and 7. So that's 4 games over 11 days for the Knicks, which again, technically that's better than 2 games over 7. But the Knicks are a team that you're going to want to go, hell no, on Saturday and run for the hills. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of going their direction tomorrow, because the longest you could stream them would be 2 days. So that does limit our options on Thursday. Luckily, the Pelicans have a lot of streamable players right now. And the Knicks, if they have Cat still out, would give you 1.5 streamable players as well. But let's say you're moving off someone on the Wizards. You're streaming, I don't know, I like Keyshawn George a lot, but 1 game in 4 nights is a tough hold. Bub Carrington is another streamable guy there. Right now, Alex Sarr, Rashawn Holmes, these guys are all kind of stream-level dudes on the Wizards. Moving to New Orleans, I'm going to assume Kelly Olynyk is rostered because he's obviously the big one there. Even if he takes a game off, Olynyk's so good, he needs to be getting played right now. Of the other guys, the ones that are not as good per game, there are actually 5 names on the Pelicans that I would consider as schedule-level guys. Jordan Hawkins, who I think would be a pretty good source of points over those 4 days, because I would assume that Olynyk sits one of the back-to-backs. Zion's going to sit one of the back-to-back. You might even see McCollum take off one of the back-to-back. So that makes Jordan Hawkins a pretty good stream if you need points and a couple of threes. Jose Alvarado has been bad lately. There's no working around that. But over 3 games, he's probably going to give you somewhere between 15 and 20 points, somewhere between 10 and 15 assists, and probably 2 to 3 steals. So that's, again, not great, but it is enough to make a little bit of a difference. Yves Missi would be my second favorite, or maybe my favorite. I mean, between Missi and Hawkins of these guys, those guys are probably tied for my preferred options on New Orleans, because Missi's going to play probably 23 to 30 minutes in each of those games, maybe on the higher side on the one where Olynyk sits or Zion sits. It just opens up a little bit more in the front court. So you're looking at probably in the neighborhood of about 80 minutes over those 3 days for Missi. And over 80 minutes, I mean, we're talking about 20-plus rebounds. Most likely, you're probably talking about 2 to 3 steals and 2 to 3 blocks. Maybe you get lucky and one of those games ends up being kind of a big one. And he's likely, and I know that he got kind of taken out by the Lakers yesterday, but he's likely to shoot over 50% on not a ton of looks, but I don't know, give him like 15 looks over those 3 days. He's got a pretty good shot to make 9 or 10 of them. 8 to 10 of them, maybe, if we want to be a little bit more relaxed on the number. So Missi, I think, has a good chance to be kind of a boards and field goal percent guy over those 3 games in 4 nights. Bruce Brown, not my favorite there, but he'll give you a couple of assists and a couple of rebounds in each game. And then Karlo Matkovic, who is intriguing on the days that Zion and Olynyk sit. He might get to do a little bit more. I just don't know, because the last time he didn't. But he'll be, if you needed to go that path, and if the other guys, I mean, I don't know, Bruce Brown, Matkovic, I'd probably go Karlo between those two. So basically, like, if Missi, Hawkins, and Alvarado are already yanked out of the free agent pool, Matkovic would be the next one, because you'll get a few points, you'll get some boards, maybe you'll get, maybe the percentages won't be too terrible. It's hard to say. But at least here with New Orleans being the only team that has the good schedule on Thursday the rest of the week, you do have some options you can look at. And then New York, we've talked about them before, because they were not a bad schedule starting on Tuesday. This is the ending 2 days of that slightly better stretch. Miles McBride, who will give you a couple of 3-pointers. And then if Cat is out, Precious Achiuwa makes his name onto this board as well for some boards and some defense. I don't think I would go Mitchell Robinson, because I don't think there's a guarantee that he even plays in both halves of the Knicks back-to-back over that stretch. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do it here on our streaming episode. We're not quite done. I wanted to just make a quick mention here at the tail end of strategically what you should be looking for, because this is the Wednesday episode of the show. I think you should have used probably about 2 of your 4 weekly moves by the end of the action today. I kind of want you guys to use up the rest of them on Thursday or Friday. I don't really want you holding them to Saturday or Sunday unless you have a pretty substantial lead in your battle, because in all likelihood, if you're holding them till the end of the week, you're not able to maximize games for this week. Other than a few key spots, like you could look for a team that's off Saturday, Sunday. The Knicks we just talked about, so we already know they're off Saturday, Sunday. You could pivot from a Knick to someone who has a back-to-back over the weekend. Great. Like, you should be getting off the Knicks anyway, and that is a way to add 2 games at the end of this week. But in general, the way to add 2 games to your week is to do something a little bit sooner than that. Okay? So I would say if you want to take a move into the weekend, that's fine. If you want to have 1 left for Saturday or Sunday, if you're like trying to get off of somebody who's hurt or whatever, but I don't think you should take more than 1 move into the weekend. So whether it's Thursday or Friday, use up that second to last move, that penultimate weekly move, and let's get to the end of the thing. As we approach the end of this week, by the way, because this is still the Wednesday show, as we get to like the Thursday and Friday episodes, we'll start to look towards the weekend, but we don't have to do it in aggregate again, because I'm going to try to do a show for you on this stuff on the weekends. Saturday's iffy. Saturday's a tough one because I have no childcare in the morning and both kids here. So that Saturday is a little tough. Maybe on Friday, because we're doing 2 days every single day. It's possible to do Friday, Saturday together, and then just you guys can kind of reuse the Saturday chunk. But we should be able to help you through the weekend on these streaming shows as well. I don't know, this thing keeps defaulting back to not doing the... come on, StreamYard. You gotta save my settings here. That one wasn't on me. This show is brought to you by UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up today using promo code OLDMAN or click the link in the show description to unlock up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash and a free play to use whenever you like to turn your Pick'em card easier, because all you got to do on a Pick'em at Underdog Fantasy is pick 2 projections, higher or lower. Anybody across the NBA, basically, they've got projections, points, boards, assists, combinations, first quarter, second half, whatever. That's how you get it done. That other promo makes it so you only need to pick 1 instead of 2 one time. And you can 3x, 6x, 10x, 20x, 40, 80, up to 1,000x your entry fee. That's how you do it at UnderdogFantasy.com. You don't need to understand DFS. You just need to know 2 projections, and you're off and rolling. I already mentioned that earlier today. I put in my card already. I already forgot what it was. Nice job, Dan. Najee Marshall higher on PRA, and Kyle Filipowski higher on PRA. Points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going by how long I think they're going to be on the court. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Dan Vespers. Hit that subscribe button on your way out if you want to get all of these streaming shows and everything else we're doing here at Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, including baseball. Draft season content is coming out from the great Joe Orico. We've also got DFS episodes. One dropped this morning and one dropped yesterday from Brenton Eckersley, who called Paolo yesterday. He made a bunch of people wealthy with yesterday's episode. Check those out. Also, The Specialists, a series running from my good friend Slick Rock, giving you the best targets as you look for particular categories to attack down the stretch. So many good reasons to subscribe. I hope you've done it so far. Hit that like button, drop a 5-star review on our show, and hit me up on social at Dan Vespers on Twitter, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, and Discord. Link in the show description where all my nightly recaps can be found. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad. Back at you tomorrow.